I'm Wesley. Today we're here to interview a manga artist. Her name is Inko Ai Takita. So we're just here to find out a little bit more about her and see how she got into the industry of becoming a manga artist. So how did you get into the manga artist
industry?
Yeah.
At first, very beginning was like more like a generally fine art really studied. Of course, I studied fine art in Japan and in the UK as well. And after graduated, and I started loving more of the book creation, book making, and also storytelling. And then not just one of illustration, I started creating more stories, and I created several self-binding books by myself, and then take them with me and then join to the different conventions. And then I got tables, and then I started selling my own self-binded books, self-publication. And then I started knowing more of the people in the same industry. Then I started bit by bit having a job, actual like book published from the publisher. And then it's been about 12, 13 years now, and then now I'm here living on, creating manga and illustrations now.
What made you get into the manga art industry?
Yeah, I think that's passion, I would say.
Yeah.
And of course, originally loved manga, illustration, and animation, but especially I love the genre of the horror or weird folk tales and stuff like that. That just really can't get enough of it. And then, of course, I read more, and I started drawing more, and then now I started having actual works to make myself draw those weird monsters or horror theme. That really gets me a brilliant joy. Of course, I can feel I get better and better every work, every project. And then that is such a joy I can't get rid of. And I'm just really into the industry now.
How did it feel when you graduated in art and design? And how was it when you made your first book?
Right. I was very emotional thinking about the first my published book, because after the graduation, because I studied fine art in Japan and UK, so I was more in like art industry that time. But then I came out like more of the story making or book binding and comic and manga industry. I produced 3 or 4 different self-publishing books. But then the first one I published called Ketsueki, that was like 200 pages solid action sword fighting manga. I was really like seeing my achievement. Like I can see it from first page to the last page. I can see my achievement every page. And every page I get better. Every page I get like more of the very deep explanation about what I can do using the media. So it was very, very emotional moment actually seeing the published book on my hand, 200 pages or so, about a year and a half project. And then, yeah, it was really like whole things I did as a marathon drawing, came up as a one media, as a book. That was very like emotional moment. It's very refreshing to see the actual physical copy on my hand.
You say you have several different books. How many books do you actually have?
Wow, I think because I joined not only the art, but also the part of the collective anthology as well. So I've joined about 12, 13 books so far for the published book. And in some of the magazines, and then because I did a bit of illustrations as well. So that's 13 books, maybe 4 issues of magazines.
Wow, that's a lot. How do you find it, doing the manga comic books and stuff in this country? Mm-hmm. Is it different from doing it in Japan or?
Yeah, I can tell the difference because in Japan, manga artists, that is like a whole amount of work. They create a story, they create artwork, and then that is such a demanding work. Probably they don't have any day off, I guess, when they are regularly showing their works on the manga magazines, because there are about 300 manga magazines in Japan, and then that like a monthly, weekly, annually, quite a variety, but especially the weekly manga magazine, the demanding of the amount of work is huge. And also you have to come up with a story as well as the art. That is just too much pressure. But because of the market is so big and so many manga artists there, but in the UK, there are no manga magazines so far. There are comic magazines, there are graphic novel magazines, but no manga magazines. So when the book comes out, it comes out just once. So you don't have like weekly things to go on. You really have to manage yourself. And so that is like a 1 year or 2 year project. And up until you actually having the, on the go from the publishers, you can't really show what you're doing so far. So you have to be quite secretive for a year or 2 years. So that's quite a massive difference because in Japan, so many manga artists are on at least magazines. So weekly or monthly, you can see their works, at least what they're working on. But in here, it's like quite secretive, a year or half. Then suddenly the one whole book comes out. And then also I work with writers quite a lot especially English-speaking countries. It's quite normal to have writers with the artists together. So that is a teamwork. So it's not really my freedom to go for all art. I really have to check out, is that okay? Is that really need to be changing? And they're always like asking those type of things. As well as I'm giving more ideas to them. So it's really like a teamwork in UK and then more like a independent work in Japan.
Manga seems like a really hard thing to perfect. How long did it take you to actually get really good at it and start, saying you was good enough to put in a magazine?
Wow, that really depends on the contents of the art. But the manga work, I probably take good 4 days to look at 10 pages, I think. And sometimes I think any manga artist have got the same problem, which is when you were trying to make it perfect, sometimes the one particular panel you don't like and you want to change it, but you don't know how. And it takes few days to decide because you have to submit the work at a certain point. You can't have forever. So you have to somehow either you just give up changing them and just leave it as it is, or come up with better idea to change the particular bit. So it all depends on what kind of work you're working. But I would take really good 4 or 5 days to do the 10 pages, which I normally satisfying level to see.
Did you go to university here and there, or did you just go here?
Yeah, I went both.
So how is it? Is there any difference, or are they the same?
It's not a huge difference, but what I studied was quite slightly different because in Japan I studied photography, and black and white photography really, really good effect on how I treat the shading and the lighting on the black and white comics. And then there was really like more, I guess, a technique-based study in Japan, which is I was in Kyoto Zoukei University of Art and Design, and then after that I came around the UK and went into Central St. Martin's College of Art and Design. I did like fine art, and I also used photography, but as well as the illustration. So I created a mix of the photography and illustration, and creating my dream diary for 10 years. So it's like a mixed media with a story. And then that was like more like a theory based. I have to really justify myself why I am creating this in this time of the year. And then there are so many different techniques over there. Why I choosing photography or painting. And that was really good to solidify my idea in the UK, because I need to, of course, submit the thesis and then, do the presentations. That was really, really good study to solidify my idea. And but in Japan, I learned more technique side of the photography.
You know, they say I'm reading here that says you've done many workshops teaching people and showing people how you draw and stuff. How many workshops have you actually done?
So far, probably maybe 150 or something like that.
Wow.
Including very short one as well as huge one, because especially pandemic time, there are so many small online workshops there. So it really added up the number.
Must have been really difficult doing it online because, you know, you can't really interact and show people how to do it properly. So,
exactly, yeah.
you know how it says that you like have different cultures, like it's traditional and modern. Is that how do you work around that?
Yeah, nowadays I use digital from the beginning to the end, using Clip Studio Paint, the whole digital. But the idea source, or especially when I'm doing something really like stories based on ancient Japan, things like that, I have so many reference books with me, like sometimes 5 at the same time, opening whole pages around me, and then try to set up also the like beauty of the traditional color coordination or materials, or especially that in digital, sometimes when you're using a digital material or images look quite same or generic, try to avoid that. I'm trying to find out how to generate the crafty feeling, like pencils or brush strokes, or even the fingerprints, things like that. And then I'm trying to go mimicking the traditional way of the painting tools and on the digital, so that it doesn't look like too generic, you know. And also, seeing lots of traditional arts, and as well as fashions or how people stand or the hairstyle, everything really comes into your creation. So, and at the moment, I'm really into like lots of uniforms in the history. So next time when I try to design some characters, I can pick up the particular era, particular costume. Then I can put into the designs. And things like that. I really enjoy going back and forward of the tradition and then
It sounds really hard because, you know, if you mess up one line, you've got to restart it. You know how they said there was some of your work in the British museums. How did it feel when being asked to put your work in a British museum?
British Museum, that's it's such an honor. But I did the gallery talk at the British Museum, and that was like a brilliant connection of the, I have to understand properly what I'm going at, and then engage with people who came around to see the exhibitions as well. So that is like a great experience, and also I can tell all my family that, so, you know, I work with the British Museum and in such a Victor and Albert Museum, things like that. That is such a that's good encouragement of the career.
So what are the like? Because then there's different genres. So what is the most popular genre to do whilst doing in the manga industry?
Wow, the most popular genre manga industry, which among the things I've done before.
Yeah.
I think that the horror. Not only I'm loving a horror other genre, but also that I love, you know, drawing the coming up new monsters, or how to show the fear of the story. That is quite interesting. You really need to have a good direction of the images to create the atmosphere, to create the fear. And then that is really, I really enjoyed. And then I think that's the most popular bit of my comic as well.
Yeah, how was it winning a bronze medal in the independent?
Right. So that was I think, the Portrait of Byrons. That is a book called The Portrait of Byrons. That is the book about the Byrons told by different philosophers' view. So this is the anthology. And then not only me, but other artists join in to tell each different Byron episode. And then that is quite political one. And then that book won the bronze medal of the Independence Award. That is brilliant to hear that. And then I really, really appreciated that what I've done is not wrong. And then that is like solid appreciation of the book, and then which I can tell people. And then yeah, that was an amazing feeling. That's you have your work which is officially approved as like as a very good quality, which is amazing feeling.
Yeah, you know how the whole manga industry, you've got to have a really wide imagination. So would you say your imagination's quite wild? Do you have like random ideas that you can, chuck into your work?
Yeah, I would say that wild imagination is quite important for any creative industry, really, for like filmmakers or writers. And probably you have seen the film called The Wind Rises, like by Studio Ghibli, and then the protagonist always thinking about something about the creating airplanes, and then that is quite similar to the feeling like when I meet, like for example, Wesley and then other people, and then maybe I get inspired by those people I meet normal life, and then also I get inspired by the art books or the films. For anything I encounter can be a source of the things you're going to create, and then that's always thinking, simulating in the head. Oh, that person would be nice to the next comic I want to create. Or that person's clothing would be really nice for the next character designing I'm doing. So I always have a wild imagination, even though that's looking at and talking to people, walking around the street. So, it's important is everybody can have wild imagination and very good ideas, but really need to narrow it down to make it into the actual physical things. So really need to tidy up. I can use this for this. I can use that for that. That tidy up moment, that's quite important.
So as I've seen, as these pictures look really detailed, and if you had one day just to draw a picture using the manga way, how long would that take you?
If you think about manga book, and then I can do 3 pages one day.
Really?
Yeah, that is maximum I can do. And because I know some other manga artists can do probably 5 or 6 pages a day. That's 2 times more than I can work. But because I want to make sure that the pages look good, so I want to take time, and then but also I want to make it really efficient. And then I think the 3 page is the maximum black and white.
It seems like the whole manga way is a good skill to have. Do you feel like you've mastered it, or are you on your way there?
But the thing is, I never feel like I mastered it. I always feel like I can do better. And then, you have to decide where to finish, where to execute your work. Otherwise, you just want to fiddle around forever because you think you can do better. So, I think I haven't mastered it yet. And then I think I can do better in the future.
Well, your pictures look, Amazing. So it looks like, do you spend a lot of time trying to get it right, or?
I think I take quite a lot of time planning, and so I create a lot of different version sketches first. Then I leave it for a while, maybe eat something, and then came back and looking at it again. And in that, they look quite different from the before I left. So I can choose more, like, refresh the mind, and then I can choose narrow it down. Then I do something else, maybe offshore work or something. Then come back and looking at it, and just narrow it down again. So it's like a planning stage. I take quite a long time, but once it's planned, I can work faster. So it's all decided. It's this. I can visualize very clearly, so I can just work really fast. Yeah, but planning stage.
So the planning stage, it seems like takes a really long time. How long did it take you to make a book?
From the planning stage, for 200 pages comic or manga, I took around a year to finish completely. So that's sometimes if you are a slow worker, maybe you don't have a day off. But if you can work efficiently faster, then you can have a healthy life for a year to finish the project. And of course, if you are experienced, you can work faster and faster. So it can be like less than a year to finish 200 pages. And then, especially one of my work, Ketsueki, that's around 200 pages, 120 pages, took about a year and a half. But now I can work 200 pages less than a year. So that's how much you can get faster and better.
Yeah. We're going to take some questions from others, just because they would like to find out a little bit more about you. So, questions over to the people.
Who are some of your favorite manga artists, and who inspire you?
Thank you for the question. And my absolute favorite, Shigeru Mizuki, who is a Japanese manga artist, but also very, very famous of the Japanese folklore monsters drawings. And then he created such a huge amount of the different folklore monsters based on the actual like folklore monster encyclopedias, which is published earlier than his age. But he is the person who created the huge popularity of the Japanese folklore monsters called yokai. And if you type yokai, yokai on Google, you will see that it's just a huge amount of the weird monsters come up. And then I really loved his work so much. And of course, what I'm doing, especially I'm creating monsters or doing lots of comics and mangas, that definitely influenced by his amazing work. Its work is not just, some of them grotesque, but some of them are beautifully drawn, really precisely, very detailed. You're amazed by the whole, like so much in one picture. And I grew up looking at his amazing work of the folklore monsters. And I never thought that the time passes and, it doesn't matter to me. I just sit there and then I can see that page after page, without doing anything else. It was like, such a pure pleasure.
What's the most difficult part of your job?
All right. There are so many difficult parts of my job. I think the most difficult part is, I think that's keep your healthy condition to be able to work longer hours. Because sometimes when you get 3 or 4 different projects at the same time when you're freelancing, sometimes you kind of have to work longer hours, and then you really need to have that healthy body to be able to do that. And you need to eat healthy, you need to exercise as well. And also I got really bad posture as well. So my shoulders and neck really aching all the time. So that's most difficult part is actually looking after yourself. And then, to be able to endure the demands from the publishers and the companies.
What manga or anime did you get inspired by to start?
There are so many, but I think one of them is Bleach. They have a manga and also the animation as well, and in that excitement, which continues to volume after volume after volume, that is just amazing work, which is you can grab people's attention such a long time. It's just continue years and years after years. And then that still inspired me. That's start with, because I really want to do that manga, but I didn't have a guts to do that such a long series. Probably one off would be fine, but long series of like 49 volumes or something, that is so much work. But Bridge, I never got bored catching up with the episode. Never be a dull moment of it. That is really inspired me to, and also it taught me how to keep the attention of the readers and the audience. And then there's so many ways of like, it's similar to the filmmaking, how to grab how to make it really interesting all the time. And then giving a little bit of surprise or giving a little bit, table turning of the story. And then giving a little bit of a relaxed moment. But it's really all really inspiring. And then, of course, Shigeru Mizuki's all those manga artworks as well to keep me going as well. There's so many inspirations I got from Bleach and then Shigeru Mizuki's work.
When it comes to manga, do you have a preferred genre?
Yes, I have the massive preference of the genre. That is, one is horror, and especially that's like folklore story with a horror taste. That would be amazing to work with. And then I really, really enjoy researching and drawing and then just, trying to show how story goes. That is always a pleasure. And then I did some of the little bit of love romance, and then I did some of the history or some of the manual of the bits of the products. But I think that horror is most enjoyable, and then really I got so much reward by doing the horror. And of course, another one is action as well. Horror and action, very difficult to make it work, but I got so much pleasure of, and then that's my absolute favorite genre.
What advice would you give for someone who wants to get into manga?
They're really good advice. If you really get into the manga industry, you can start with the short story, which is already exists. Because some people start the story making and then art at the same time. And then sometimes story goes too long and then you never finish the project and you can't move on to another one. So the really good advice is to start with a story which already exists and short as well. Even 6 pages will be fine. After you finish one project, you have your confidence, you can finish one, then you can move on to another. And then also the first one, you can find so many things you need to learn. You can see exactly what you need to learn, like comics and manga. You need to reproduce same character again and then again, and you need to have a consistency. And then the character should have look the same person, even though having a different emotion, looking at from a different angle, they have to appear the same person. So that kind of the very specific technique you need to create for the manga and the comic. And you can learn a lot from just only 6 or 8 pages. And then once you've done, you can start in showing that to other people. And I know it's criticism hard sometimes, but it's always nice to have what's your weakness, what's your the advantages, and then that is a really great way to start. So I would advise start with a short, already existing story and create your own version. Then finish at least one project. I mean, that's otherwise.
I'd like to say a big thank you to you and the crowd for listening.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. That was really enjoyable.
Thank you.